Hello everyone, Birthday7 here, back with more Bloons TD 6. Now in the last video, it was fairly well received and very popular, so I figured, hey, why not do a part 2? So this week's elite boss was done on Encrypted, and this is Elite Lich. Now if you remember back in the very early days when Boss Bloons first came out, before Lich was even released, Bloonarius was also done on this map. And, the strategy for that map was, just Ultra Juggernaut for Tier 1. So, I guess there's that. So it was kind of, I guess, NK figured that, they kind of ran out of, like, new maps to do. I guess they've done all the maps that they deemed, I guess, like, fair and possible. Because, obviously you're not going to be able to beat a boss balloon on, like, something like hashtag ouch or ravine or something like that. There's absolutely no way. Not even sure. Maybe normal would be possible, but definitely not elite. But anyways, that's just kind of that. So there really wasn't a huge kind of specific theme for this week of Elite Lich. We did put a heavy emphasis towards Dart Paragon simply just because, Dart is like probably in my opinion the cheapest, it's the best damage for the cost Paragon so far. All the other ones are fairly good. Boat Paragon is absolutely busted, but I think just in terms of like damage per cost, I think Dart Monkey is definitely the best one, especially with Encrypted. Just the Ultra Juggernaut balls just like flying around everywhere. I think Apex Boss Master is definitely by far, I think, just like per damage per cost is the best Paragon. Now if we're just talking like in general, I think Ninja or Boat are kind of tied. I can't really be too sure simply just because Boat Paragon has that OP just like hook in ability, which it allows it to hook in even bad balloons, but Dart Paragon, Ninja Paragon has the just insane sticky bomb, which I think is able to like one-shot fortified ZOMGs, which is absolutely just like insane. So I think both of them are kind of tied in terms of just kind of damage, but I think in terms of like overall, I think Boat is probably better just because for farming, you can make a lot of money using the Boat Paragon, and Ninja is just kind of straight up damage, while Boat can be used for like some utility. So for tier 1, we did kind of a different kind of, I guess just like approach and defense towards this. I personally got Ultra Juggernaut as I felt like, Ultra Juggernaut would do pretty good since, it can just bounce the balls around everywhere and just like explode kind of on the inside. So I figured that, Ultra Juggernaut would do pretty good. My teammates decided to get Crossbow Master. Crossbow Master was definitely the best choice here. As I guess Ultra Juggernaut would just be kind of, just for like general cleanup, while, Crossbow Masters would definitely be better for just straight up mow-up damage. Well, I guess that's kind of what Crossbow Master is meant for, is just straight up mow-up damage. It can be used, for some, early game and mid game action, but they do fall off, around 80 plus, when Super Ceramics start coming in, because they don't have any increased RAM damage, but they do pretty good damage against mobs. So tier 1 is only 42,000 health, so I figured that, this would definitely be more than enough in order to actually be able to beat the first tier Lich. I figured that, Ultra Juggernaut and Crossbow Master, and, we are going to get multiple Crossbow Masters once you see there we got a second one. This will definitely be more than enough. So we're just kind of doing this to, I guess just grind out pops for the Dart Paragon. As again, we do like to get, I guess, fairly high degrees. I personally don't think I've ever gotten a Paragon like I think like over 60 before, just kind of on my own. As I don't really put a huge emphasis towards Paragons when I'm doing bosses, I usually just go for Vengeful because that's kind of the easiest for it to do. Paragons do require a lot and lots of effort when you're doing it solo, but doing it in co-op, Paragons aren't as tedious to just kind of place. So the only thing that really worried me too much here was just kind of the chained Moab, so I decided to get a Moab shove just to make sure that we didn't end up dying to the chained Moab, especially chained fortified Moabs. Those health that it has is absolutely insane. I think this is a very good map for Moab Shove just because of how central of a location it is. Lich will just always spawn the chain mobs just kind of around Moab Shove, and Moab Shove is pretty decent when it comes to, I guess, just general stalling. So I guess it's kind of cool that, Moab Shove actually does have a use now. Usually Moab Shove was always outclassed by, something like a Moab Press. So tier 1 goes down fairly easily, pretty much with no hiccups or troubles, or just kind of whatever. I guess Double Crossbow Master is pretty good when it comes to tier 1 defense, although keep in mind that that costs over, I think, $50,000 of defense for tier 1, so it's not like the best or like ideal. You should definitely not do it solo, Bloonarius, or not Bloonarius, Lich, guys, you probably won't get too far with that, but for co-op, it works perfectly fine. So for tier 2, we ended up dying for our first attempt as we got mad just a little bit too late. So for this second attempt here, we just got mad up earlier and I was working on Master Bomber. We also have 3 Crossbow Masters and Ultra Jug. That's apparently not enough in order to beat tier 2 by itself, but we got mad just kind of a little bit too late, so that's definitely why. Decided not to show that attempt just because, it's the same as this one, just we got mad, a lot later than we did now. So yeah, I figured it's probably just a waste of time just to generally just show it, as it wasn't really too 100% interesting or just kind of unique in any way whatsoever. Ultra Juggernaut did not do as good as I thought it would. That's kind of a slightly disappointing. I do remember it being good against Bloonarius in tier 1, or like for the first few weeks when Encrypted first came out. But I guess I just kind of not, as I guess it does make sense. Bloonarius is definitely a lot slower and spawns out a ceramic cluster for tier 1, which Ultra Juggernaut does better against, just like chained Moabs. So I guess that's probably the reason why, definitely the reason why, just thinking about it. But I did kind of expect it to do just a little bit better, seeing as it did do fairly decent against, Bloonarius. But hey, it doesn't really matter. What can you do? So also another thing about, I guess, just boss moons in general that I noticed throughout the run is that I think it's better to not even like worry about trying to farm pops in the early game. We did try to use like a lot of dart monkeys in order to grind pops for the 16.2 million you need for degree 100, even though we didn't get degree 100 during this match. We weren't even that close, to be honest, but I guess it was just that. And it kind of makes sense, the later rounds have just so much RBE that it does make sense that, you would gain a lot of degrees a lot faster than you would, in the early game. So I guess that's something to keep in mind when I'm doing, boss balloons in the future, especially when, Vortex comes out. I think Ninja Kiwi did tease that boss balloons, or not boss balloons, 31.0 is coming out next week. They did say so on their blog. With that comes, Vortex, the other original boss balloon, and Engineer Paragon. So that's kind of exciting. Fast forwarding a bit through tier 2, as again nothing was happening. It was pretty much just the same as you were just kind of doing it normally. Mad and 3 Crossbow Masters was easily able to beat tier 2. It did take a fair amount of time, not like overly long, but I guess it was fairly decent for what we were trying to accomplish here. Right, so here we end up getting our Apex Plasmaster up for tier 3, a degree 66. And that's a fairly good, decent degree if you don't know. Every 20 levels, a Paragon see a massive spike in power, so the next massive spike in power would be degree 80, but we're not going to get degree 80 until so much later. And plus, I'm not even sure if you can get it in only 3-player co-op. Last time this was 4-player co-op, now it's only 3. So just because I didn't feel like having my ult account on this time, and I don't even think I have the monkey knowledge for double Crossbow Masters on my ult account, so I figured it probably wasn't even worth adding, just to only scrape like maybe 4 or 5 more degrees, but it's kind of whatever. So another kind of annoying thing about I guess this map in general is that you do have to wait kind of a long time for Lich to actually get in range of your towers. I guess this could be seen as like a good thing, because that means you don't have to get defense up immediately. But if you do have your defense up immediately, like we do right now, it's just kind of a boring kind of waiting game for Lich to kind of show up. It doesn't really help that co-op is incredibly laggy as well, so that makes it take even longer. Believe it or not, I think the raw footage of the first episode of co-op bosses was over an hour long. Simply just because, with do with lag and, just kind of how bosses work, and, Bloonarius having just a ton of HP, just made it take, just so long. It was kind of a pain to edit, but thankfully I smarted up this time and I cut out I paused the recording whenever Lich wasn't on screen, so that makes it a lot easier to edit, and instead of having to comb through over an hour of footage figuring out when Lich spawns and when Lich dies. So now that Lich is finally in range of Dart Paragon is absolutely just gonna shred Lich. I didn't even actually need the Moab Shove, and Moab Shove is actually hurting right here. I didn't really realize it at the time because I was just kind of playing on my phone. I realized that, yeah, we definitely got this tier in the bag. Moab Shove was actually stalling the chain balloons, and a lich actually doesn't go invulnerable until you pop all the chained Moabs that spawn. So we didn't really necessarily need Moab Shove here. I eventually did notice and ended up selling Moab Shove, but it was just kind of a bit, yeah, not really late, but I just didn't really notice it for a kind of a while here. But you know what they say, better late than never. But it was just kind of, also it's kind of wild to me, just really does show, how large the just Moabs and BFB hitbox there. Moab Shove wasn't even touching the BFB, and yet it was still stalling the BFB, which is kind of crazy. It really does show you just how large the hitboxes for that is. I guess it's kind of one of the reasons why, Tac Zone is kind of so good. If you do place Tac Zone under a Moab class balloon, pretty much all the tacs will hit, as the center of the tac zone will be in the middle of the Moab class balloon. So if you have all the attacks hit, you can do insane amount of damage. So tier 5 was pretty much the same thing. I did get all tier 5 boats just to work on the Navarch of the Seas, the boat Paragon. As I did figure we probably would need, more Paragons, as Lich is pretty fast in general. We did end up selling the Apex Pass Master to get a higher degree. 74 was the degree we ended up with, so it wasn't really a huge improvement in power, but it does make a bit of a difference, and so I think it was worth doing so. And it didn't really take, too much time or effort to really get a higher degree of Paragon. I figured that, Dark Paragon can still solo tier 4 of Lich. Well, I guess not really solo, as there is more than one tower on the screen, but Dark Paragon will be doing majority of the damage. And as you can see, Dark Paragon is still absolutely shredding. This map encrypted right here is just absolutely perfect for Dark Paragon. I feel like it was just kind of just made for the just Dark Paragon for itself. Well, yeah, it's not really made for Dark Paragon, because this map was added way before, for Paragons were probably even like a thing that Ninja Kiwi was thinking about adding. But I guess maybe, who knows, I assume they do plan out things they want to add, way well in advance, but who knows. So again, Dark Paragon is just casually shredding the Elite Lich. I probably didn't even need to get a Moab Shove here. I was slightly worried about the chain DTs. They are pretty fast, and I wasn't 100% sure if we were going to be able to beat them, but they're pretty much no problem. I guess I did slightly underestimate the Apex Plasma Master. So that's tier 4 pretty much done. Now I move on to tier 5, where we start farming even harder to afford almost all the Paragons. We didn't end up getting Ninja, but we did get Boomerang, Dart, and Boat. We probably could have gotten Ninja, but again, it was just kind of a we don't necessarily 100% need it. Alright, so starting off in the middle of, I guess not really the middle, towards the, somehow beginning of tier 5, we are working on our Boomerang Paragon, although the only issue is we don't have nearly enough money to get our Dart Paragon. All of us combined only have a little over halfway in order to actually get our our Boomerang Paragon, which is a bit worrisome. We don't necessarily need it, but it just it is something that we would like to have and just kind of do an increase in damage. So we could have sold a farm, whatever, but of course selling, heals Lich. So we figured it probably wasn't even worth, selling in order to actually afford it, as we probably would be better off waiting. Also, we would be able to semi-farm pops while we don't really get it. Our boat only ended up being a degree 45. I think we kept around our Apex Plasma Master, so I'm pretty sure it's still the degree 74. Our Boomerang Paragon was a surprisingly high degree, considering how late we got it, and we didn't even spam towers around the map in order to increase the degree even further. So that was actually kind of a bit surprising. It really just showed me, it's like, oh yeah, it definitely not really worth trying to grind pops during the early game when there isn't too much RBE. So here my teammates are just kind of sending me as much money as possible to be able to afford the Glaive Dominus as soon as possible. Also, a little fun fact, Glaive Dominus is currently the only upgrade that refers to itself in the first person. Glaive Dominus description is: the Bloons will look upon my glaives and they will know fear. This is the only upgrade description that actually, where the tower is just kind of describing itself. Most of the tower descriptions are done from like a third person perspective, or like, you know, someone else is describing it, but you know, Glaive Dominus is the only one that actually, you know, kind of speaks. So it's kind of a little cool thing. I wonder if Engineer Paragon is going to be the, I guess, same thing. So here we're just celebrating our victory because at this point we already have known that we can easily beat Lich. So if you enjoy the video, you know, like, comment, subscribe, join Discord down below in the description if you'd like to, I guess, you know, do co-op Bloon areas with me and some other subscribers. That'll be fun to do, especially once Engineer Paragon gets released and when Vortex also gets released. And thank you to my subscribers who took time out of their day in order to play co-op bosses.